Hello and welcome to Think Like a Game Designer. I'm your host, Justin Gary. In this podcast, I'll be having conversations with brilliant game designers from across the industry with a goal of finding universal principles that anyone can apply in their creative life. You could find episodes and more at thinklikeagamedesigner.com. In today's episode, I speak with Vlaada Chvátil. He is one of the most accomplished designers that I know. I have been trying to get him on the podcast since day one, and I'm so excited to finally get to share his story, his insights, and all of the deep dive design chats with him. He is a video and board game designer, most known for some very famous board games such as Through the Ages, Codenames, Galaxy Truckers, and way more than I could name here. You can go to his Board Game Geek page to see all of the many, many games he's worked on, Mage Knight and countless others. He's built the Czech Games Company along with friends of his into a real major name in the industry. We talk about the process that he uses for selecting games. We talk about the importance of openness and honesty and how he creates games more for him than he does for anybody else, that he sells games so that he can make games. He doesn't make games so that he can sell games. We talk about the process of making physical games versus digital games, how to convert physical games into digital games, the unique advantages of each side of it. We talk about the process of creating rules and how you can create rules that work for your players and how those things improve. We go very deep into the weeds here. So if you're a designer, you want to learn more about how to make games that are mass market friendly, that are Euro games, how they cross over to each other, how you develop your taste and how you can use a team and coordinate a team around building a wide variety of games. Vlaada has those insights for you. You know, we first got a chance to chat at Gen Con this year, and I really enjoyed that conversation. I knew you guys were going to enjoy listening to this one. So without any further ado, here is Vlaada Chvátil. Hello and welcome. I am here with Vlaada Chvátil. I do my best with that name, but Vlaada, it's great to have you here, man.
Hi everyone. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, dude. Listen, so you've been kind enough to carve out some time here. You have been basically my white whale guest. I have wanted you on the podcast for a long time. We finally got a chance to meet in person at Gen Con. Had a great conversation there. I'm very excited to continue that and share everything with the audience. So I want to start. I usually start with the origin stories here, and I think that yours is. You've told this on other podcasts and things. So I want to make sure we get to sort of new and interesting deep dives here. But the biggest thing that has always impressed me about you and your career is that you have done such a wide breadth of games, both in the pure digital space, in the casual game space, in the deep strategy space, and then games that kind of cross over those boundaries. And I would love to just sort of start with the process by which, and then also really kind of running a company and growing a company and being part of that process. So I'd love to start with just a kind of assessment of either how you pick projects or kind of how you create, kind of ideate to be able to come up with these different projects, because I think of anybody I know of in the space, you've done the best job of creating such a massive variety of categories of home run games.
I believe it's just really like passion for games as such. Yeah. So I was studying programming, IT, but not because I love programming, but because I realized that computers are a great platform for games. Yeah. And before I was always doing some like board games for my friends, but even before I was doing summer camps for kids. Lots of games there, like running through forest and fighting with anything and it was suitable for fighting and so on. It was always about picking rules that provide some good challenge and interesting situations, whether it was computer games, video games, or this forest battles. I was doing also some like live of action role playing games. Yeah, just games in all forms always fascinated me, and I always have great time playing them and making them.
And so your development background and your engineering background, that's how you go through. Because I'd love to just get granular, right? So you prototype digitally first with a lot of your games, and you use that skill that way. Is that like Like, walk me through, pick any of your kind of game processes that, like, how do you start that process, and what's your early prototyping and iterating process look like?
Usually the game stays in months or even years in my head. Yeah, because I have some idea, but idea is not enough for a game. Usually, not always. It was different with Codenames, but but for some like meteor and thematic games, I need to have a good idea how the game will be played. Like imagining what the players will feel, how what will be the core mechanics, what should be the fun, and how it interacts with the team. And I don't start working on a game before I have like very good idea about all these things. But in my head, it might look good, but then I start to write stuff down in some Excel sheet or Google sheet or something like this. Then it might not survive this phase, because what looks good when you imagine it, you can imagine, and there will be some cards that do this. And then you have to write down example of these cards, and you may learn that it's not as great as you imagine it. But if it works, then I start to create a digital prototype. Because even if I would want to create a physical prototype, I would start with some software that because most of my games are about cards, that creates the cards, layouts the cards. Because I think the last game where I did my cards manually was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Since then, I'm really like, if I really want to create a game, I know this is an investment. And when I start with software that creates the cards, then it will pay off. Very soon.
Yeah. So you're in this case, what I'm hearing you say is that for a lot of these card games you're making, you're using digital tools to create the cards, but you're still working
Yeah.
on physical cards to do the actual play testing. Is that right?
Data for my cards are always in some Excel sheet. Yeah.
Yes.
And there is a program, and I can hit a button and say export. And then usually, because when you have cards, it's not so difficult to create this digital prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have this digital prototype, and it's very convenient and fast. If you change few numbers, you need to either stick something over the cards physical, or print a new and scissor them again, and that's something that I don't need to do. I know. There are now today there are tools for this. Yeah, there are tools for creating decks.
That's right.
And there is tabletop simulator or tabletop PI and so on. But it was not the case when I started. This 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I created my own tools, and I was using them like till 1 year ago. I was using them. Now I am using a tool that we developed in CGE, because I was doing this myself, and my wife did the multiplier solution and some friends. But now we have several people in our company, like full-time, dedicating their time to creating digital tools for developing games and playtesting games.
Yeah. Okay. So it's really interesting to me, because I think the process here, it matters a ton, and the fact that you've now reached a scale where so we have gone through this process as well, where we developed our own tools. We had our own prototyping tools. We had a universal game builder tool, and then over time we went the other way, and now we use external tools that are available, and things like Figma and InDesign and others that help us build our cards and then export them to Tabletop Simulator. So we found we went the other direction, where we originally home rolled our own tools over the last 15 years or so, and then we moved into using the publicly available tools, which have just gotten better and better. But you've now spent more investment building internal tools to work with your team. What features or what advantages do you think your internal tools have? Like, what do you think are the kind of key features that you've built that make it so much more efficient for you, or that make that system work better for you?
I believe it's better integration. Yeah. For me, it's important the process is as smooth as possible. Yeah. When I feel something is blocking me or hindering me, or what I don't never want to do, to not do a thing in a game because I'm too lazy to do it. Yeah.
That's right.
So it has to be convenient. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it is what's best is if I need something be done differently, then I either write the programmers, hey, I need this, or I do it myself
Yeah.
because I'm programmer. But also, I believe the tabletop simulator and so on don't have this strength. We have like perfect, our CGE recent games like SETI or Arnak, very heavily play tested on our site.
Yeah.
And it was collecting data to balance the game. Yeah, we have like this loyal group of testers. Some are really great and or are very devoted. That's awesome, and it helps a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we also want this to be convenient for them. Yeah, so to be very honest, when I was looking at, I don't know how is it with Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator now, but when I was considering to use it, I realized quickly, okay, these processes are not optimized for my work. Yeah,
Right.
and for playtesting, for massive playtesting, like hundreds or thousands of games played, and you can. I don't want to talk about something I don't know exactly now where it is now, but it doesn't offer what our systems offer.
Yeah.
And as I said, if we want our system to offer something more, then we just do it.
And yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and it underlines, I think, what's the really important part of the principle of design is like everything that you can do to reduce the friction in your iteration and testing and learning process is a massive win, right? Because the faster you can go through that, the less that gets in your way, the less things that get in the way of your making changes, the better. And so you've got the resources and engineering skills both with yourself and your team that you can home roll that, and that makes it easier for you, and that. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, as well as it sounds like, massive data collection, which makes that process so much easier, which is definitely a challenge. We have to do that stuff manually with people submitting their results through a Google form and then those things get put into a spreadsheet, and then we're able to look at that spreadsheet and see both the qualitative and quantitative feedback.
Which is important too. We also, at the end of the game, but it's part of the system, so it's against like seamless. We ask people for opinions about the particular play of the game or about game generally. Yeah, so it's not about numbers; it's about feelings, about how players enjoyed it, what they were thinking. Yeah, we can perfectly see which cards are overpowered or too weak. But it's also important how the players feel about it. Yeah. So ideally, it should like align. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And not the goal is not to like balance everything so that every card is equal, but to create it so that the playing cards feels good, and there's no sort of one dominant strategy that things collapse into, and so you lose that choice and discovery, right? So when you're building this out, so you said, and I just want to make sure I heard this right. You said you'd spend months or years potentially from an idea phase where you're just playtesting in your head before you even get to this spreadsheet building prototyping. Did I hear that right?
I am not playing in my head. I am really just imagining the game. Yeah. Because when I create the first prototype, which is not automated, of course, it's like I can move anything to suitable places, like draw a card from a deck or discard a card or move it to places where they are designated to go and move some figure somewhere or so on. Yeah. So when I have this prototype, then I play this game myself over and over. Yeah. I run it in this like sandbox mode. That means that I evaluate everything manually, but there's some automation. For example, there's some end turn button, and it automatically switch me to the next player. Yeah, I can play for 2 or 3 players, or for one, depending on which type of game it is. And as I said, playing it over and over dozens of times. It may end here if I stop liking the game about like 20 or 30 games, then there's no point to try to. No, of course, I can improve it, but if the core mechanics are not that enjoyable, then I can stop the game. Happened to me a few times.
Okay, and then so that makes sense. So it's ideating in your head, thinking about something cool, finding it, getting to the point where you've got enough of a clear picture. Then it's adding it to a spreadsheet and writing down and starting to create cards. And maybe once you started to create the cards, you realize it's dead there. So it could have died in your brain. It could have died in the spreadsheet. It could die on your sandbox solo testing after a dozen or a couple dozen games. Then once it gets past that point, then you put it into a less sandboxy environment and explore it to more people. Is that the next stage?
I will just correct one thing. It doesn't die. It returns back to the previous stages. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually it returns to the head, and it has chance to connect with some other ideas in a year or 10 years.
So it's
I don't
more of
know
a
how many
video
it will
game,
stay
more
there.
of a video game death than a real death. It's a respawn and start the level over.
Yeah. Then, so when I am happy with it, it's these phases are kind of like blended together. It's not like this phase ends, this phase starts. Yeah. But when I think I have something that I like, then I create the physical prototype, which is now easy because I already have everything in digital prototype. Yeah, so now I just say how many cards on sheet and how they are really, how is their real size. It's prepared. Oh, but there's lots of like details that has to be handled differently on table.
Yeah.
But I usually wanted the game on the screen look very similarly, yeah, and not choosing different means. But some stuff like, I don't know, scales or counters, yeah, tracks, yeah, are easier to do as a number on computer and easier to use.
Well, so
I wanted to say when it is ready, I create this physical prototype and then play it with people. And it's usually I don't remember if I ever had a game that I thought it is fun and it was not fun for the players. That's okay. It's rather vice versa. I have some games that people thought that they are fun. I thought not that good. What happens is this moment was highest risk is the playtime and downtime. Because when playing myself, I know the game and I make it running quickly. And then I put it on table, and now I see people thinking and not knowing what to do, and it drags, and so it's one thing, and then it's on to me to decide whether I say, okay, these are they will play faster, but usually I need to streamline stuff by not just by components iconography, but also by where the decisions are made and how broad is the space players are exploring and so on, and what leads them, amount of information they have or should have, and so on, or just reducing the length of the game by saying, okay, so it will be not 5 rounds but only 4 rounds and so on. Yeah. But usually, what works better is the streamlining the processes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it may happen. Okay, it will be only 4 rounds because the 5th round is already too big. Yeah, and it is not needed. Yeah, it kind of culminates in the round 4. So let's keep only 4 rounds. Yeah, but I remember exactly the numbers I had for one of my game, Dungeon Pets.
Mm-hmm.
When I was playtesting it on my computer, I started with 11 rounds, and it was fun. But I said, okay, because I had already experience, I said, on table, it will be slower. And when I created prototype, I put it only to 8 rounds. And in the end, then I, after playtesting with people, I reduced to 6 rounds. And the final game is 5 rounds with 4 players and 6 with 3 or 2. Yeah.
Yep.
So it went really down by more than half. Yeah.
Yeah. No, when in doubt, cutting things out and shortening things to make it a tighter experience makes a lot of sense. One thing I wanted to pause on for a second, because you kind of threw this out there as a sort of a given, like, hey, once I think a game is fun, other people are going to think it's fun too. Like, that your taste and your instincts for games are honed well enough that you're not going to miss at that stage. for a lot of people, that doesn't come naturally. Is it just from playing so many games and loving games and working on games for as long as you have? Or are there types of instincts or that ways that you've trained your instincts for what players are going to like that are, do you just assume the players are going to be like you? Do you put your head in there into different personas? Like, how have you trained your taste and your aesthetic so that when you think a game is fun, you're pretty sure you're going to hit after that?
I'm not sure it will be a hit. I just know it will it will appeal to people that have similar mindset as me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say I don't care. But it's like still the best way. Yeah. I'm lucky. There's enough people around the world that have similar taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it may change. I think that the global taste is changing. And I believe my games will be less successful massively now, but it's okay for me. Yeah. The point is, if this would not work, I was doing this as a hobby. Yeah. And it somehow happened that enough people liked it. Say, okay, so I can publish the game. But if it would be not working, if I create a game the way I like it, and people or not enough people likes it. It was not my goal to be a game designer. So I would not change the way. I would be not looking for ways how to do things differently. I would just not be a game designer. That's it.
I love that. I
do it the way I like it, and people around me I play regularly with like it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I love it.
And with these people, with several of these people, we created a company.
Yeah.
We created a company based on we understood each other on games and had similar tastes. I believe it is still, even now when the company is much bigger, it's still there. Yeah, because we attract people with a similar taste. Now, when we are working on a game, then almost everyone is really enjoying it.
Yeah, and so
excited about this.
Okay, and so like everything you're saying is principles I agree with, right? Like designing for yourself and designing something that you're really passionate about, surrounding yourself with people that are similar, hoping that you could find an audience that's like you enough to justify it, but that's not like if you chase an audience, you're not going to hit. And I found this in my own experience when I've tried to do that, my games have failed. When I've made games for me, they've done way better. But I want to push back because your games are so different. Like it's when I think about, and I love all your games too. So clearly I'm part of this audience, right? I mean, I from Codenames to Galaxy Truckers to Through the Ages, is there like a through line for those games, which are all so radically different in the length of play and the audience capacity, right? Like that, are there principles that you've defined or like things that make it so that the category of player you're talking about can like enjoy all of those games, or that the people that, it's just such a wide variety. When I have a party game that I've worked on, and I have several, I don't publish it under Stoneblade because I generally think that the audience for Stoneblade games is more interested in strategy games and kind of that sort of thing. So I don't publish games that are party games in that space. And when I've tried to in the past, they've done not as well. We did a game called You Gotta Be Kidding Me, which had some success, but it's just not the same audience exactly. So is there something that like defines what the ethos is of you and your team or your player base, or is it just good games generally? Like, is there anything that I'm not seeing that's like, this is how you draw a line between these many disparate projects?
It's really about, the categories are not so strict. Yeah. It's not that serious gamers don't want to have fun, or Euro gamers don't want team, or American, it's changed already, but American players don't like mechanics and so on. Yeah. It's just about focus. Yeah. You can create a party game for gamers, for gamers, and you can add fun to Euro games and so on. So it's really defined by our tastes as a company. Now we have enough people, so we have a very good sample. Like last year, we created a very light game with food in a company. And we didn't plan to. We actually were thinking that there will be no new game for SN because we have enough work with other projects, with older projects, with expansions, and so on. But then we had playtesting event, our internal playtesting event at the start of the year. And there was this little game that everyone was enjoying. And there was voices in our company, hey, this is not the type of game CG is doing. Do you see how these people are, after playtesting lots of Arnak or second expansion, big box, and set the expansion. So how they are enjoying this lighter game, how they are like, because we had one prototype there and we had right on the event to create another because there was too much demand for the game, So I said, why not? It's a nice, good game, and our people are enjoying it. Why would not our customer enjoy it? And we already started like more lines of games with Codenames. But even Codenames was not created as a mass game. I was on a gaming event, and there was where people they're playing lots of Euros, mostly Euros from SN, because it was right after SN. But they were also playing some party stuff and lighter stuff and so on. And I tried this simple idea with Codenames, and it worked. But at that time, I knew, okay, it works nicely. I can think about it more, how to improve it and so on. At that time, I had no idea how broad will be the audience for Codenames. I just saw it works for my gaming buddies. That's how the games were created. And I'll tell you one thing. When you ask how we decide what to do, we ask our people. When we have some possible prototypes and so on. We ask them which game you would enjoy most work on. And sometimes it might be even not the best commercial success. But what's important is if people want to work on the game, the process will be fun. At least for me, the process is maybe the goal. We are selling the games so we can create them. We are not creating them to sell them. So we really take this input, everyone in our company, and it doesn't matter if you are head of production or developing or just like send it replacement packages. Everyone in our company has a word in what we will be publishing. Of course, it's also important to know if people are really willing to playtest such a game. So our internal questionnaire about this is like, do you think we should publish this game? Would you like to work on the game? How often do you think you will playtest physical prototype? How much you would be playtest the digital prototype, and so on? It's our decision process. It's not about, okay, there's target audience for this and demand for this and so on. And it's end up pretty well. Because I believe this passion is then like felt from the project.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think that, my rule of thumb, if in a game, if I'm ready to kind of like, go forward with it and publish it, is like my playtesters are actively playing the game even when I'm not asking them to, right? They're like choosing to play this game and they want to play more, even when I'm not, we're not quote unquote working. And so this is taking that to another level in a certain sense, where you're using your internal teams decisions about which ones they want to playtest and keep working on. And not only does that mean it's more likely to be a good game in the long run because it's got a good seed to it, but it's also going to be more likely to be a good game because they're going to run through more iterations. They're going to be more motivated to test it and improve it. So that makes a lot of sense. Just to get a little bit more granular on this, because I love getting into the weeds. You said you have like kind of an annual, or there was an annual playtest event, and then you're asking them these questions. Is that a thing you do like once a year or once a quarter? Is there like a formal survey process where you ask them to rank each game and how often they playtest it, or is it just kind of a casual? Like, what's the actual process?
It was like this earlier, but now it was a bit more granular, like generally. We had this essential. And from SN to SN, we created some games. This cycle was simpler. But now we can create a game for Gen Con or for SN. We can even create some stuff for other parts of the year, especially the expansions or new versions of games and so on. Games like Codenames doesn't need this big event because they are. It's mostly about when the big chains decide what they will have next year on shelves and so on. For example, we had one event before SM. The main goal of this event is to teach our promoters how to promote the games we have in SN, but also we play some prototypes and so on. We had this questionnaire right after this event because were some interesting prototypes, interesting projects, things we are considering to do for a long time. So and people had chance to play them again. So we just run this questionnaire again, yeah. Even if it is if there will be another in January, yeah. Of course, we also talk with people, but we are now big enough company, so some people are more loud and some are more silent, and we want like everyone to have chance to give their opinion.
Yeah, no, that's very important. There are a lot of loud opinionated gamers out there, and many people who, if you give them a chance to write things down or separate them, you actually get to hear what they have to say. So that is a good lesson. So I could stay on this topic forever, but I want to cover some other things. And because you brought up this idea of promotion, and the most people I talk to, the consensus is, right, it's easier than ever to make games now. The tools are better, the access to good printers and capacity and everything is better, but it's harder than ever to get people to pay attention to your games. It's harder than ever to sort of get promote your games and get it out there. Now, you obviously have a big platform. People are excited about whatever game you're going to do next. But in addition to, having a team and doing promotional events at SN or Gen Con or big events like that, what do you find to be the most effective tools to kind of get the word out about your games? Or how do you think about like new game discovery and teaching? And we'll get into rules creation stuff too, because I think you guys are very ahead of the curve on that also. But in terms of promoting and getting the game out there, what do you think is the most effective tools that you have in your toolbox nowadays?
It's still, I still believe the most efficient way is to make the game actually great. Because the time proves it. Yeah, we have games that those sales were increasing over years, like from year to year for 10 years more or more. They were growing. Yeah, that's very good long-term strategy. Yeah, so. And I say strategy because that means we invest a lot into development. Of course, we have also marketing, and we want the people know about our games. But our position, we started without marketing. We start several years. We had no employee whose job description would be marketing. Yeah,
right.
It was just okay. We need to write some text about, and we were talking about the games like very openly, and it works. Even now, we are trying to be like honest and close to players. Yeah, even if we are much bigger, of course, you can be like close to people who buy your games at some big malls or something. That's different. Yeah, but still, the thing that I love on shows, and that's the reason why I don't want to miss any SN and sometimes go to Gen Con. The point is, if people like our games, it means that they have similar taste. And that means that if they will be living next to us, that we will probably visit the same game club and having fun together. I feel this connection with those people because of the way we are picking games and doing games. Yeah. So this is for me. This is where I stopped with marketing. Yeah. I mean, at this point. Yeah. That's what matters to me. But of course, we have now people that do a great job, like promoting our games and doing this stuff. But I'm very glad we have them because I don't need to do it myself now, and I can concentrate on games. Yeah. So the only thing that I still believe in is this like openness and honesty. That means also not just communicate this way, but also do the games. What I love is people that understand what we are doing and why we are doing it. When I see people like having some question and someone answers and even gives the reason why it is this way, and he's right because he writes exactly why we did this, yeah, then it's always like nice feeling for me.
Are you talking about when it comes to like mechanical or thematic choices with the games, or somebody's explaining a rule or a policy there, or like what do you mean like openness and honesty? Like, could you flesh that out a little bit more?
Sorry, what was the question, please?
So you're saying the scenario you're talking about is someone you're watching two people play a game that you've made, and one of them asks a question, and the other one's explaining why a game is the way it is and the principle behind it or something, and that's the moment that you're talking about, like why you make the games the way you do and like what the rules are.
I meant mostly like board game geek or so, yeah. Because I was before in the video game industry back then. At that time, I was also reading some discussions about video games. Then I was reading discussions about board games and somehow fell in love with the audience of board games.
Yes. The board game audience is far more, I don't know. It's a much more close knit community, and I think that's one of the things that really stuck with me about your previous answer. It's like, I got into card games and board games, and I played Magic professionally for a while, but it wasn't the money or even really like the love of the game is what connected me to the people, right? The friendships that I made over 30 years ago now are still friends that I have today that I still communicate with. And like those bonds are like what really makes this community great. And I think board games, that's part of the reason why board games, even in a very digital world, board games are more popular than ever. I think that I want to use that. So I have two different wrangles I want to go. I want to talk about rules and how you guys write rules, but I also, since we're talking about the digital versus physical divide, we're one of very few companies that does digital and physical games. Both you guys are incredible at this, and I think when you're taking one of your core games and building it in a digital format as well as a physical format. The process, I want to dig into a little bit of the process. So, and I'll specifically use, I think Galaxy Truckers is the first time it really struck home for me, right? Because Galaxy Truckers is a frantic physical building game where you build your ship, and then there's, some strategies that you're associated with it, but then you kind of, hope for the best and watch your ship get blown apart as you go through the run. And then you turn that into a digital app, which, having the physicality of that work and feel good, that's hard enough on its own. But then you also built an incredible campaign mode with lots of different play modes and different strategies and different restrictions and a funny little stories and characters. Like it's a whole other game that you built on top of that feels like it marries perfectly with an otherwise really innovative tabletop game that's very physical. How? Just talk, like that's such an incredible process. Like what was that like? Were you involved in that entire process? Did you design that series? How did it come to fruition that was the plan? Like I want to hear all about this. This is a remarkable,
Okay.
very rare ability. I don't know too many other people that can do this.
So first, the reason why to do this, yeah, I like digital board games, yeah, because I of course need to play with people for the social aspects and like this physical feeling of the board game. But I probably want to play more than I have opportunity to. So that's why I like digital board games. But sometimes it happens to me. Okay, so there's a new digital implementation. Buy it and play. Okay, I know this game from table, so I can set up the highest AI difficulty. Okay, I won. And what now? Yeah, okay, so I won. And the game was great. And what next? Yeah. So I can play again and win again. Why there are no achievements, at least achievements or something like this? I even created my own achievements for games that I liked. They didn't have any, yeah. So just we're tracking myself in my head. Okay, I have not done yet this in this game and so on. So at least achievements are mandatory, I think, but it's still not enough, I believe. So video games know how to do this, how to entertain you for a long time, how to reward you. So we always wanted to have something added to the game, because when you are playing on digital device, you lose this contact with people. So we need something else to be just not inferior product. Now in Galaxy Tracker, I enjoyed it a lot because we already had this funny universe. Yeah, I actually created a scripted language for this campaign because I'm programmer and video game developer. by my origin, and this was like our first digital stuff we did in CGE. So I created this myself. The program was written in Excel, like together with dialogues. Yeah, there was this like system of dialogues and script together. It was really a good translator by translating directly this Excel sheets. So Jason, our English role writer and text writer, is a programmer by education too. Maybe he's a physicist, but he can program. I don't know. So when he was rewriting the rules, he had exact context because he could read the script. Yeah, in which conditions did this dialogue is.
Yeah.
So it was fun. Yeah. So it is a very simple campaign, but it's mostly about this like funny characters we then and it's about these modifications of game, which is another thing that is allowed to do in digital. You can tweak any rule. But that's what we did with Through the Ages. In Through the Ages, it will be difficult to have like story where you always develop some civilization and then we develop another. It could be done somehow, but with some gods or so. So instead of this story campaign, we created lots of challenges. It was also great fun. Because when I was writing the core of the game, I already had in mind that there will be these modifications, so it was then very easy to do. It was mostly about playtesting what feels interesting and so on. And we did the same for the Galaxy Tracker, but we developed it in campaign. Galaxy Tracker's games are shorter. And we also developed completely new modes for the Galaxy Tracker, turn-based, to allow asynchronous playing, because it's a way how many people play board games online is asynchronous, so because it's difficult to find enough people who has enough time to play a game, that especially a real-time game like Galaxy Tracker, And the work we put to this returned also because the latest expansion to Galaxy Tracker, which is named the Do What, is about which big part of its missions we developed for the app and then playtested. We already published this. This is the first edition of Galaxy Tracker, and now we improved it. And we even added this turn-based mode to the expansion for people just to try. And it's actually interesting, but it loses something of Galaxy Tracker, of course. But for some people, it loses something they don't like on Galaxy Tracker. So.
Yeah. No, it's a fascinating shift. And then I'll do. And again, I highly recommend people check out these games. And just it's a wonderful illustration of how the design opportunities and constraints of each mode of physical and digital can really feed each other. And I've had to do this with Ascension and Software Fusion, a bunch of games. So like I've learned a lot from that. I have one question on the other game because I think it was still the beta, so I don't know if you've changed it, but it felt like it was a conscious choice with the Codenames app. You've built it such that I can take a turn and there's daily missions and there's some asynchronous play, but it sort of cuts me off after a while, right? Like I can only play so much in a day, unless I've really got an actual live opponent at that time, and then it just kind of stops me from playing. Then I have to kind of come back the next day to get more missions or more goals. At least when I was playing originally, that it was like that. Is that still the case today? And if that's a conscious choice, I'd love to know why you would cut that off.
Why you are asking about daily challenges? Why they are limited?
Well, and even for challenging, there's limits to the daily challenges. There's limits to the number of players because you could easily make virtual opponents or virtual turns available as much as you wanted in that game at this point, right?
We decided that we don't want to play Codenames with AI. That was a decision that we challenged several times. We started this or designing this like 10 years ago, almost, not 10, but a long time, maybe 9 or 8, I don't know, a long time ago. It was before boom of LLM. And then we several times challenge this and we're considering this, but we feel it has more value to play with people, Codenames especially. Yeah, you can play Through the Ages with computers because they compute the playing Through the Ages is about what you do, and you can react to some environment, whether the environment are other players or AI opponents. It's not that important. But in Codenames, it's really about like connecting minds. Like even if it is like mind of unknown person, we still felt that this like higher value. Yeah. So everything you do in Codenames is based on what people do. Even if you are playing these daily challenges, these challenges is something some other players created either right now or long before, and we liked it. Our algorithms think that people like it based on how well they do, and possibility to rate a daily case by smileys. We store the best and offer them again to more players to entertain them. Yeah. So that's it. And also the player base, we have some very loyal players. We have some very loyal players that are with us for in Czech for 3 years already. Yeah, because Czech version was released 3 years ago. Yeah, still playing. And I believe if we say, hey, play how long you want, whatever you want, with the daily cases, they would be, you should not play until you are fed, until you say, I don't enjoy it anymore. Yeah, then you don't return.
Yeah.
And the main goal is to have people to play the games with others. Some are really crazy. There were players that were playing 100 of Codenames games simultaneously. I was really double checking our SQL query if I got it right.
Yeah.
And then I was checking, okay, and are they really playing? Yeah, they were really playing. It was like, okay, that there is some player that has won 120 games. He is able to, only 17 of them is waiting for their turn, and the longest waiting time is like 2 hours. Yeah. So it was really surprising for me. I had something like 20 something, and they said, okay, I should tone down. I should do also something else. Yeah, so it's this simultaneous playing, asynchronous playing. Yeah, and this is, I believe, core of the game. And the daily challenges are just because sometimes when you finish all all the games you are on turn, we have one there's something that people don't maybe realize. There's one very important feature of on Codenames, which took a lot of effort to do on Codenames app. If you want to start another game, this is always your turn. So when you start a game where it is your turn to guess or to give a clue.
Yeah.
So if you want to play, you can always play. You can always create a new game and play. Yeah. But then it could get out of control. Yeah? So that's at the start in lower levels we have some like security. Say you should first play, especially when you are on turn in another game. Please play your games first. Yeah. And then there are these daily cases where you can entertain yourself without starting a new game. And this what I loved was the Spy Master situation.
Yeah.
Where you return naturally, not just to play more, but to see how it ended, because it's necessity. Because the daily situations are where you create a clue, and this clue is then given to many players as a daily case, and you compete with other Spy Master who had similar or same setup, who does the best clue, and that was my favorite way to play.
Yeah, and I've realized I didn't actually describe Codenames. I assume most listeners will be familiar with it, but the gist of the game, if there's a series of words on the board. One person's the spy master, and they give the clues to who is to where certain spies are hidden under those numbers that you're trying to get. There's the opponent's ones that you're trying to avoid, as well as a assassin that is the real bomb. If you hit that one, you lose immediately. So giving clever clues that let people pick is the heart of the game. Highly recommend it for everybody. It's very and I think that this piecing this apart and why I was so excited about this is taking something that's at its core a very social group dynamic game and turning it into a digital game presents all of these different challenges, and the ways that you solve them are always very clever. And again, very different kinds of things that are available in a Through the Ages digital app, where it's, as you mentioned, purely kind of my own strategy and how do I deal with the situation in front of me, or a Galaxy Truckers where the physicality of the game and the quickness of the game is not necessarily a strength in digital, but can be turned into a bunch of different things, or used as a unit of design elsewhere. Like each one of these is its own fascinating design project. And again, it was one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you, is because I just haven't seen anybody else execute that transition as well as you have on so many different arenas. So just really happy to dig through that. So thanks for walking through those choices.
Yeah. On the other hand, when I want to just entertain myself and play something quickly, I usually do Shards of Eternity.
Shards of Infinity, yes.
Or it is among the few games that if I have just few minutes, because of the reward. The game is good and rewarding itself, and it works even without this. And I played also lots of Ascension and so on, but kind of now ended up with this simple but entertaining thing.
Believe me, if I had, we worked with a partner on Shards of Infinity, and they did an amazing job on executing it. But if I had the bandwidth, I would 100% add in all the campaign modes and all the different aspects to it, because I think that game would support that super well. In fact, we have that in our new physical version of the game, the Saga Edition, which has all that stuff built in. But maybe someday. But I appreciate the compliment. So the last thing I promised I would get into is about rules and writing rules and how you communicate the rules of your game. Having read through some of your rule books, especially really fun ones like Galaxy Truckers, and you do a great job of like giving the rules, but also being very entertaining. Things are broken out clearly into sections. It's clear that you put a lot of thought into these things. Writing rules is very, very hard. A little bit easier on digital games where you kind of can force people to do what they do, but still game tutorials are not easy. What goes into that for you? How much time do you spend on it? I'd love to, maybe piece out some lessons people could use for their games, because I think this is an area where a lot of games fall down and don't do a good job of getting people across the finish line to experience the game itself.
So writing rules is very hectic and painful process, because this is the last thing we do on a game. Yeah, the game is already almost in printer, sometimes really physically in printer, and we are still writing. It's because that we are tweaking stuff and so on, and also we are learning how to explain the game all the time. We are presenting it on events to playtesters. Sometimes of course, we need some rules before for the online playtesting, but the real rule book is written as the last thing. Yeah, especially now the processes are maybe a bit different, but especially for my games, I really reflect everything I learned about explaining the rules in the rule book. Yeah, and we are writing the rules originally in English. We started to write in Czech when we're doing first game, but it is double translating. Then you need to translate English, and then you need to translate from English, so it's better to start directly in English. And we had great rule writer Jason, who is American, who lived several years in Czech, so he knows Czech. We cooperate with him since very begin. And he's also very systematic, and I can create a joke that sounds funny in Czech, and he can really well translate it to US. And it's not just language; it's about also cultural stuff. One thing I wrote some joke about heroes never being four, because in Czech we have lots of examples where it's usually 3 or 5 heroes. Yeah, and not that true for.
Got it. Yes.
I even wrote that Alexander Dumas was so ashamed that he has 4 musketeers. He names it the book only 3 musketeers. But Jason say, okay, we have lots of 4, like Fantastic Four. Here I wrote different joke, yeah, in the same spot. It's about great cooperation here also. And another thing that helps a lot is having the digital prototype, because lots of rules have unclear areas. Yeah, lots of rule books have unclear like how this works, how this combines together. We know exactly how it combines together because we had to program it, and programming is very systematical.
That's right.
So then when you explain the rules, you cannot say, okay, let's handle all this combination in programming. Yeah, in program. Yeah, you need to define things. Yeah, okay. So this type of effect is on your turn. Yeah, and if it is written on your turn, it means this. Means anytime it means this, and so on. And you write clear evaluation of the game, and then you can translate this to a rule book, yeah, by choosing the right structure, a right terminology, and so on. Yeah, so it helps a lot to have the rules like clear.
No, having a very clear logical structure and something that, a machine forces you to do, and then, what I'll do is I'll kind of create kind of bullet points and flowchart rules before writing, human rules, even if I'm not making a digital version of the game. And then when it comes to the order and how you present that information, you made a comment earlier about like, you're constantly teaching and demoing the games, and that informs the process as well, because you're demoing the games even before you've written the rulebook, or do you revise the rulebook based on those demos? Like, how does that fit into your process?
Especially for my games, when I'm explaining it myself, especially at the start before we put lots of people on it, then I have to explain it over and over. And I am a guy that gets bored if doing stuff over and over, the same stuff. So I'm improving it, and that's also why some of my games have like various jokes in the rule book, because I invented them during explaining the game, because I want to entertain the players, entertain myself. So, so I'm adding this funny stuff, like thematic background stuff and so on. And this is reflected in the final rule book too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes there's like I see reactions of players and how they comment on it and so on. I can improve based on it. Even in Dungeon Pets, there is a rule that was invented by a player, just as a reaction, yeah, because it's about like growing some pets. There's a shop with little pets, and you can buy them and grow them. And if a pet if no one buys a pet, it leaves the game. And I was always saying this pet goes to a farm and it is living here happily. And one player said, okay, and then next turn there's one more meat on the market. I said, yeah. And next time, now it's in a rule book, it's written, and there is some very unrelated rule. Whenever this happens, then there is a meat on the market. And there's, in advanced rules, there is written even advanced rules for advanced players that says that if there was one of the creatures actually a plant, if plant goes to a farm, there is vegetable in market. If a golem goes to farm, there is a gold in the market, and if goes to farm, there is nothing extra in market. And I know it's like stupid extra rule that is not necessary for the game, but it makes the stuff memorable. So that's my approach to rules. Yeah, it's not like reasonable, but it's fun.
Yeah, well, it fits into the broader sort of narrative I feel like I've got here, which is like, you kind of view your role as being able to create this like entertaining experience, right? To be able to like, entertain the audience. And that's true from, there's no hard and fast rule about what the game needs to be, or it's got to be this level of elegant, or that this is fun and this is what is, going to be entertaining for people, and how you write the rules and how you present it with different forms of humor and what types of mechanics you're going to put into a game. Like all that stuff feels like it has to just serve that goal. Is that an accurate representation?
Sorry, I was listening, but missed the question.
Like in terms of in terms of, is there a North Star that makes you these decisions, right? It sounds like I've heard you use the word, it's entertaining, it's amusing, it's fun, like, and that guides through this whole process when it comes to both which games you select, how you present the rules, when you're turning something into a digital game, like I've been trying to, because you are so unique, I think, of all the designers that I talk to, and the diversity of the stuff that you do. I've been hunting for through lines. I've been hunting for like what connects all of these different things, and this concept of being entertaining and amusing, and even just making yourself laugh. But also you've been keeping a very close eye on your audience, right? You're watching them respond to the demos. You're listening to their feedback. You're watching as you go through the different aspects of this. You're watching the metrics a lot when you're seeing these people playing it online. So I feel like there's a through line here. Maybe I'm off, but I've noticed you use that phrasing of it's amusing, it's entertaining, it's fun, and even if it's not, classically the right thing to do or as elegant as it could be, that you might make that choice.
Yeah, I still think that that all this comes from me wanting to have fun. And people around me, and creating fun for people around me. Yeah, I was doing games much long before I started to publish them, and it was always about like entertaining people around me and about finding ways how to do it, and finding the ways how to do it also which I enjoy.
Yeah.
And people around me change. I was like a heavy gamer at the start. I have gamers around me. Then now I have a family. So I believe Codenames would not be created because if people around me is my family, I create games for them. Yeah, and still attending our game club and gaming events. So it shifts. I was doing the video games, and I play video games, so I know what I enjoy on them. And another thing is that I don't play the same game over and over. Many players pick their favorite game and they try to achieve master in it or something like this. What I enjoy most is the first play of a game, usually. I enjoy the exploring the game and its biggest adventure. So there are many games I played only once and enjoyed. Not think I will never play this again. Just wanting to play something else. Then this is same also for design. Mm-hmm. When I'm designing something, the next time I don't want to do the same thing better. Yeah, different thing because we're boring to the same thing over and over for me. Yeah. So that's why my games are different. But the only thing that really connects them is. Yeah, there are some rules of myself, but what really connects them is that I had fun creating them. That's it.
Yeah. Is there another? I'll give you two different routes here. Either you mentioned some rules for yourself. If you want to share any of those rules, I'd love to hear them. Or is there another category of game? Well, I'll pause there. Are there any of those rules that you couldn't articulate or that you want to articulate in terms of what makes you select a project or not?
Yeah, there's some taste. We share it in our company. For example, we don't do or limit this like diplomatic aspects of our games and take that mechanics and so on. Mm-hmm. It was not like this always. I played lots of diplomatic games, like big strategy games, were full of backstabbing and agreements and so on.
I lost a lot of friendships over a game of diplomacy. So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, of course, diplomacy too. But that was okay. We played with friends, and we are still friends. But the point was that at some moment I said I had enough of them because the meta game around these games is basically same or very similar for all these games. Yeah, there's someone who
whines the best.
Yeah, this guy is going to win. We should stop him. How we do it?
Yeah,
we should stop him, but not me because I want to win myself and so on. Yeah, and I don't care. I will be second. And this is the same regardless of the mechanics, and it works better if you don't understand it. I was playing. I realized we were playing a game that was like meant to be great, and it was clearly based that there was like powerful means how to stop players from winning, and it was clearly like based on the fact that someone though is so clever that no one else notices he's going to win until it's too late. but we noticed. We are
Yeah.
clear about it. So we could sit down and say, okay, now I can decide whether you win or you win, yeah, or we will be playing next round and I will lose any chance. And when it goes to this, it's kind of boring, yeah. Because all these little miniatures or mechanics or little micromanaging of your stuff is insignificant to this big meta game. So this is something that I said, okay, I have enough of this, and stopped to play basically these games. Also, I don't play too much two-player games and don't create, because it feels to me the better I play and the more I am like professional board game person, the more I feel like uncomfortable beating someone in a two-player game. Yeah.
Oh, you're so nice. That's what I figured out. You're just a really nice guy. That's your ethos.
No, it's really it's like, you know, it's problem of winning. If you have gaming friends, like, do you really like those that always win the most? Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
winning a game is a quality that proves something about your abilities that can be useful in real life and so on. But in the gaming, it's not adding that much fun to others. And especially in two-player games, there is just you and your opponent. It feels uncomfortable. I think I have some friends that really love games. I'm not that great on them, but love them, buy them, play them, explain them. And those are really nice people. I don't care they are not winning. It doesn't lower their value in my eyes. Yeah. So I think that winning a game is overrated. Yeah.
Winning a game is overrated. All right, that's going to be the quote of the episode right there. I think you're right. It's a great point. Like, I think when I think about games, like, and I am a competitive gamer. Like, that's how I grew up. That's how I paid my way through college, is playing professionally. So I have a competitive drive in me. But when I design games, I'm trying to make them such that everybody can feel like they're winning or have a good experience regardless of who wins, right?
Okay.
Like Ascension, I think, does this very well, right? And deck building games in general, because I'm doing my thing and I'm feeling this process of evolving, even though other people may have more score at the end, right? And I think it does it better than, say, Shards of Infinity, for example, which is much more aggressive, attacking, and you're attacking your opponent. And so, like, the choices you make matter a lot in these games about, how it feels to lose, right? Or Galaxy Truckers, it's actually hilarious to lose. Like, you watch your ship get blown apart. It's actually really fun to lose in a certain sense. So, like, it does matter where you can create a situation where people want to win, but that the experience of not winning still feels good. And that's, like, I think, a real strength of a lot of the games that you make. And I think it makes sense for that ethos. All right, I could dig into this a lot further, but we are out of the time that we have allotted here. I'll end with one thing. Is there another game type, category, or thing, or whatever, anything that you're excited about or would be interested in building that you haven't built already? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I'm doing something I never did before. I'm enjoying it a lot. I am co-designing a game with another designer.
Ooh.
because I had some co-design mostly on some lighter stuff or expansions, but now we are doing a really big and meaty game. We are two designers, and I love the cooperation a lot. I've won a rule also for cooperation. If we have different opinions on some stuff, it should be not about persuading the other that this solution is better. If I don't like some solution and he likes, or if he or vice versa, if I like some solution and my partner doesn't, then let's find something else that both of us will like. It will probably objectively better. So it's not about persuading the other that this way is better, but it's about trying to find ways that we both like.
Yeah,
I believe it will then show on the result, and I'm really great fun doing this game. And I think that it's a sign that there will be enough people that will really have fun playing it.
Okay, well, I can't wait, and hopefully, maybe you love the collaboration process so much we could find something to collaborate on together one of these days.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the time. This has been great. And people want to find you, find your games. What's the best place for them to go?
Sorry?
If they want to go, where can they find you and your games? And if they want to see more of your stuff, what's the best place for them to go, like a website or something?
So most of our games can be found on Czech Games Edition CGE webpage, which is czechedition.com, I believe. But of course, they can click on my profile on Board Game Geek and find all games by me, because some were done with another company, like Mage Knight, or the last one, Severton, were done by a different company.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks again, Vlaada. Really, really appreciate the time.
Okay, it was really great to talk with you again. It was great also at Gen Con.
Yes.
I love these discussions about games.
Yes, me too.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to support the podcast, please rate, comment, and share on your favorite podcast platforms, such as iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever device you're listening on. Listener reviews and shares make a huge difference and help us grow this community, and will allow me to bring more amazing guests and insights to you. I've taken the insights from these interviews, along with my 20 years of experience in the game industry, and compressed it all into a book with the same title as this podcast, Think Like a Game Designer. In it, I give step-by-step instructions on how to apply the lessons from these great designers and bring your own games to life. If you think you might be interested, you can check out the book at thinklikeagamedesigner.com or wherever fine books are sold.